Hey everybody, welcome to our post-legislative session report. My name is Ben Clapper with Louisiana Right to Life, and
I'm Angie Thomas, the Associate Director of Louisiana Right to Life.
we're so happy because the legislative session finished at 6 o'clock last night. It's over. 2 straight months of representing the pro-life cause at the state capitol
Ben needs a nap.
I need a nap is over. So we're so glad it's over. We had a lot of great successes, a lot of challenges throughout the way, but what we want to do is just kind of give you a report of what happened at the state legislative session. We want to talk about some of the bills that we've dealt with and that we lobbied for, and not many that we lobbied against, but just so that we can show you. What we do during the session is a few months before the session, we spend time preparing for the session, writing legislation, talking with legislators, working with legislators that maybe the ideas are ours or maybe legislators bring ideas to us. And then we work with them, prepare them, draft them with our team, with other attorneys, Dorinda Bordley, the Bioethics Defense Fund, and other people. And then we get legislators generally to introduce those at the state legislature. And then once that happens, then we have to prepare for the testimony, for the lobbying, and then we're at the Capitol at least 3 days a week. Some members of our team are at least there about 3 days a week with talking with legislators,
Constant
state agency, right?
Constantly coordinating with other people to come give testimony.
That's right.
It was my first year this year.
Yeah,
so
how was it?
Quite a whirlwind, but it was such a gift to be able to represent the pro-life cause, and we're just so thankful to all of our donors who make this possible.
That's right. And all the donors who made it possible, also all the pro-life citizens of the state that contacted their legislators throughout the session. I know we at least had 2,000 emails from citizens going in to legislators, especially to support our Abortion Pill Reversal Disclosure Act.
And that's
we
so
appreciate
important.
it.
That was
Absolutely.
one thing I consistently heard was that the representatives and the senators that did get emails, they would say that how important that was as they looked at these bills. So thank you to all of you who have done that. And I hope that more of you will continue to join us in that.
Yeah. So anything surprise you that you weren't expecting?
I guess the pace of it was, and just the curveballs that would happen. The Abortion Pill Reversal Disclosure Act was certainly my baby going into this, and just watching just the different players in different movements and how much it changed throughout the course of the session. So that was surprising to me.
I think from the outside, you look at what happened in the session. Like if you look at the bills that we were involved with, and it looks like, okay, we had 2 committee hearings per bill and 2 votes for a bill. It doesn't seem like that much, but it's all the every day things would change a little bit, and then you had to address concerns, and maybe we had to write amendments, but then we had to write amendments 7 times and then adjust them. So it's a lot of nitty-gritty work. I mean, there were days that we were there at 8 in the morning. There were days I was there on this past Sunday night till 7 o'clock. So
back up the very next
that's
morning.
Right. Back up there. I was left at 7. I was back there at 8:30 in the morning. So it's a wild ride throughout the legislative process. But one blessing to me is all the legislators at the Capitol who care about the pro-life movement, who care about babies, who care about mothers. You can sense it that they know that the people in their district are pro-life. And that's one of the blessings that we see at the Capitol.
Just incredible champions for the cause, willing to really go out and represent this cause in leadership and leading this state. So that's tremendous. Thank you to all of the legislators.
Right. So this was the second term, or the second session, of a 4-year term. Now last session was the first term, and it got cut short because of COVID. So we weren't even there last year because most of our bills kind of got cut in the COVID. So in the COVID session. So for us, this was the first time getting to know a lot of new legislators that had gotten got elected in the last state election.
Right. So it was kind of their first time voting on some of these pro-life topics.
So it was kind of a new body of legislators. Obviously, there were some still there from past sessions. So, but I would say that we came out strong. We had over 30 votes in the Senate. There's 39 senators, so we had over 30 votes for our abortion pill reversal, so that's a solid number. In the House, we were well over 70 votes for some of our legislation. So that's a great sign that we've been able to keep the pro-life dedication of our state legislature intact. There's other states where that's changed over the years. We're keeping that consistent, but I think it's important that sometimes some of the grassroots people in the state think, well, our legislature's pro-life, we don't need to contact our state reps and our state senators. Well, that you can't do that. You got to keep the pressure on every year, because if they don't hear your voice, then they're not going to think it's as important as it is to you, the citizens of the state. So even if your legislator you know is 100% pro-life, call them anyway. If you know your legislator is 100% pro-abortion, call them anyway. Absolutely. They need to hear your voice.
And they know we're scoring them too.
That's
they
right.
see Ben walk up, and they know what he represents. They know
right.
They know that your voice needs to be heard.
Absolutely, absolutely. And we are honored to represent the pro-life cause,
Absolutely.
to represent all of the pro-life citizens, but more importantly, to represent the babies and to represent the moms. So, well, why don't we jump into talking about the different bills. We'll try not to give you too much detail, but give you enough to know what we did, learn a little bit about it, and then we still have some action items moving forward. So let's begin with our main bill for the session, our Abortion Pill Reversal Disclosure Act. And Angie, tell us a little bit about it.
Yeah, so maybe I'll start with just kind of how the abortion pill works. It's a 2-pill process. So it's a chemical abortion, and the first pill, mifepristone, works to kind of block progesterone, which is necessary for the child's growth. And that may not work, but whether it does or does not, the second pill in the chemical abortion regimen is misoprostol, and that causes uterine contractions and causes you to deliver either the dead child or the child that's still alive. So what we did with then there's the abortion pill reversal, which is just an amazing protocol that pro-life doctors do, and it's called it's really using progesterone to fight off that mifepristone, to essentially say, okay, well, you put that blocker in, but this progesterone is going to fight, and this extra progesterone is going to try to win out, and that can save the baby. And in fact, over 2,000 children have been saved through this protocol, and several children here in Louisiana. So we are so blessed with some doctors here in Louisiana that provide this abortion pill reversal. They actually came and testified for us. Again, we're just blessed by their work, blessed by their ability to come and stand up for the truth. So with that abortion pill reversal, we decided to put this Disclosure Act out this year, which means that every woman who starts a chemical abortion must receive this information that you may be able to reverse the effects of the abortion. And here's what it says.
Now, this is, so the bill went through a lot of changes throughout the process, and so this sometimes the way the bill starts is not how it ends up, and sometimes you don't get everything that you want, even in a pro-life legislature. Mm-hmm. So the way the disclosure statement, you can share.
Yes, definitely one of those examples.
Right.
It started with much stronger language, but this is what we ended up with, and we still think that this is life-saving legislation. Please read before taking the second pill. Research has indicated that the first pill provided, mifepristone, is not always effective in ending a pregnancy. If, after taking the first pill, you regret your decision, please consult a physician or healthcare provider immediately to determine if there are options available to assist you in continuing your pregnancy. So it's a message of hope. It's a message that, that is reaching the women in that time-sensitive period between when they take that first pill and when they're still able to use this APR, which is about, at most, 72 hours that they have to change their minds. So again, the research is there in terms of how many people are calling to reverse their abortions.
Women regret their abortion.
Yes, women regret their abortions. 150 calls a month is what the APR network tells us that they get. So that's a lot of women in that, again, in that time-sensitive framework. And we do have some amazing pregnancy centers in this state that are providing this service. The doctors connect with the pregnancy centers. Very thankful for that, and again, thankful for the doctors. But here's where we are now. This will be, the next step is that we have to contact the governor, because the governor needs to sign it.
All right, so the bill passed the House and the Senate, and now, as we speak, it's either on the governor's desk or on its way to the governor's desk. And from when the day it gets to his desk, he has 20 days to sign the bill or to veto the bill, or he could choose not to sign it, not to veto it, and the bill would still go into effect. The governor has yet to commit to whether he will sign this bill. You know, it was a process throughout the legislative session. The Department of Health they put up some roadblocks at certain points to the legislation. So we're not really sure right now where the governor stands on this legislation and if he will sign it. It's imperative, more than any other legislation we've ever passed when Governor Edwards has been governor, for our pro-life citizens across the state to contact Governor Edwards and ask him to sign this bill into law. And so after, even though session ended yesterday, now we have an action item for the pro-life community. Contact Governor Edwards, ask him to sign this bill of hope into law. And you were talking about the doctors, and Dr. Chazek, who was testifying, shared about how just a few weeks ago in Baton Rouge, a pair of twin boys was born to a mother who had taken the first abortion pill, regretted her decision, ended up contacting Dr. Chazek, and then he administered the abortion pill reversal protocol and saved that pair of twins. Isn't that
was
awesome?
Really powerful in the committee hearing,
right,
when the mother gave us permission to use that photo of those precious boys, and it was just so powerful to see. I mean, this is real. The progesterone, it's using progesterone. It's not dangerous to use progesterone in pregnancy. So
just like there's many women who are watching this who have been pregnant and maybe their doctor administered progesterone to them to help sustain their pregnancy. So this is not some new drug, this is not some new medicine, this is just using progesterone in the situation after mifepristone, after the abortion pill, to save that baby. It's not crazy, it's not junk science as the pro-abortion side will have you believe, because they don't like the idea of this, because they don't like the idea of women regretting their abortion, right? It cuts in to the mentality that abortion is some empowering choice for women. And that's a myth, and the abortion pill reversal is evidence of that myth.
That's right, that's right. They say they're pro-choice, so these women are changing their minds.
This
is their choice.
That's right.
But we've made it easy for you to take that action step that Ben talked about. We have this incredible software where you just, we provide the website and the information. You just have a few clicks and you're there.
So I believe you're going to go to prolifelouisiana.org/APR, and then there's going to be a link there where you can then click, where you can call the governor, you can email the governor, you can tweet the governor, you can put a Facebook post on his Facebook page. There are many ways for you to reach out to him and contact him. So please, that's your action item today, is to contact the governor. And remember, the way the bill is now, it's simply advising women to talk to their doctor if they regret their abortion to determine what options are out there. This is a pretty small lift in the state to do. So we're excited about that legislation. It's a glimmer of hope for mothers who need and who regret their abortion.
That's right.
Everybody contact the governor. So that's what would be our biggest bill of the session. That was our main bill, so it got through. And then I just want to give kudos to State Representative Beryl Amity, who was the author of the bill, who did a great job. She's from the Houma area. And then Senator Beth Mizell from the Franklinton area, she carried the bill on the Senate floor, so House members can't go and present a bill on the Senate floor, so they have to get a senator to carry the bill. And she faced a lot of challenge. In fact, she had to amend the bill for us on the Senate floor, which is difficult to do. She had some opposition. She stayed strong. She stayed true. If anyone, you called Senator Beth Mizell, she was a champion this session against a lot of adversity.
Absolutely.
Okay, so let's move on to the next bill, and we're going to look at the House Bill 423. This is by State Representative Julie Emerson, who is from Opelousas, the Lafayette area, and this was our Hospital Complications Reporting Act. Just a little bit of background about why we did this. Last year when we were at the Supreme Court, there was all kinds of questions about...
In the case of June Medical Services versus...
Yeah, for our 2014 Unsafe Abortion Protection Act. So during the midst of that, we were saying that abortion facilities, there are complications that women suffer after abortions. Well, the abortion facilities were saying, well, look at our complication rate. It's very low. But the problem, the reason they could say that is because women who are having abortions at abortion facilities are not going back to those abortion facilities for care in case if they have complications. They're going to an ER in their local community. And so the abortion facilities are able to say, well, hey, look, there's no complications from abortions because we're not treating them. But somebody is treating them, and it's the ER.
That's
You've
right.
had some evidence, the Attorney General's office, right?
Right. Through this process of preparing for the testimony and the bills, it was made aware to us that, for example, Women's Hospital had 0 abortion complications in their reports. Well, they did a voluntary audit of their patients and went back and found that there were at least 10 abortion complications, but it just wasn't charted or wasn't coded in that way. So again, this is really important legislation that's going to help us defend the state's pro-life laws, help the AG's office to have those numbers, because we know it's happening. I mean, we see it happening.
That's right, and it puts the truth out there that that the abortion facility wants to tell you that there are no complications from abortions. There are, and so this requires a hospital, when they treat an abortion complication, which that's good, the hospital is doing that, taking care of that mother in that situation after she's had the abortion somewhere else. This would require the hospital to report to the Department of Health the number of complications that they are treating on a yearly basis.
Right, and a little bit of other information like the type of abortion procedure and the complication that they presented with. So
and it would
very good legislation.
Yeah, and all patient confidentiality is protected, just like in all state reports.
Right. We want to see aggregate data. We want to understand trends. We want to see where, whether one particular doctor is causing some of this. So that's what we want to see. We don't want to see people's names.
That's right.
So the third and final bill that we worked on that is related to abortion is very close to my heart now. It's called the Enhanced Reporting of Minors in Abortion. And this is essentially about judicial bypass. So if any of you are not aware, judicial bypass is kind of an exception to the parental consent law here in Louisiana. And it's required if states have a parental consent law.
So a parental consent law is that a minor can't have an abortion without a parent's signature. And if they can go, instead of doing that, a minor can go to the judicial bypass. Tell them a little bit about what.
So the minor could go to a judge and get consent, essentially permission to have the abortion from the judge, and this is done without the parent's knowledge even. So it's it's a determination of maturity, but in addition to determining their maturity, there is kind of what I would consider almost a loophole where the judge can say, even though the minor's not quite mature enough, it's still in their best interest to get the abortion. Well, this whole thing came alive for us because this precious family reached out to Ben and I about a situation that was going on in their family where a teenager was trying to get a judicial bypass. And let me say this, there are websites out there that are literally walking these teenagers step by step through this process, saying, if you don't want to tell your parents, just do this. So, I mean, we see that as a real abuse of what the judicial bypass intent was.
Which is required by the Supreme Court, right?
Exactly.
And unfortunately, we'd rather get rid of the judicial bypass, right? But the Supreme Court hasn't allowed us to do that.
Right. So this poor family is going through this, and unfortunately, that child was murdered through abortion. But the family wanted to fight. The family wanted to, they couldn't even understand how this was legal. How was it legal that someone in a few minutes of a Zoom call,
it was just a Zoom call.
Yes, could determine their daughter's future when they raised her from birth. So this family decided to write a testimonial, and we were able to provide that for this law. We were able to kind of enhance this law with a couple of things that we saw through this process, and it passed the House, it passed the Senate. We're very, very proud of this law. We think it's going to really help rein in judicial bypass, in particular the jurisdiction. Before this, it was allowable for the minors to go to both a court in their residence, in the parish of their residence, or a court in the parish in which the abortion clinic operates. Well, what we've seen is this trend that they generally go to where those abortion clinics are. We have 3 abortion clinics in Louisiana: New Orleans, Baton Rouge, and Shreveport. And that's where we're seeing a lot of the judicial bypasses happen. And that's where we're seeing some of the judges that are perhaps more lenient on this. So we think this jurisdiction might tighten it up, this jurisdiction restriction.
Right. So now it's going to be that the only jurisdiction authority is the judge in the parish where the minor lives, not the parish where the abortion facility is, right? So and there's a few exceptions to that. If your parent's a judge, you can go to a neighboring parish judge. So, and then if your parish is under a certain size, but I think that's definitely going to, at least for now, rein in some of the abortion facility and these abortion groups basically channeling women and really abusing the system right now.
That's right.
So I think we have a lot more to do on judicial bypass, and the Supreme Court needs to rule on a change on judicial bypass, right? Because it's almost as if parents have no responsibility. I've heard it said that it's harder for a woman to get Tylenol at her high school than to get an abortion.
Yeah.
So it's we need to change that. But this is great legislation that moves that forward.
That's right. That's right. So we have some adoption bills too. One of the things I love so much about this organization is that we want to be pro-life champions in multiple ways, right? We're fighting against abortion, but we're also saying the alternative is there's a viable alternative in infant adoption and helping parents. That's why we do our diaper drives.
Right.
We have a lot of efforts that are out there to really, to help families who choose to parent and to help families who choose adoption. So
so this there's always been, or not always, but there's a federal tax credit for families that adopt a child at infancy. So it's not been that way in state taxes. So what we looked at was how can we change that? How can we hear from families about the financial challenges of adopting a child? And while we can't fix that all right now, what we want to do at least take some burden off of families. So State Representative Jack McFarland introduced legislation. Originally, the bill provided a tax deduction for adopting a child through the foster care system. Well, then we worked with him and a number of other legislators to amend it so that not only do families now get a tax deduction for adopting a child through the foster care system, but they also get a tax deduction if they adopt a child through infant adoption.
Right. One thing I learned through this is that we have an informal caucus on foster care and adoption.
Right. And there were a lot of other good bills in this session that we're not talking about that help and strengthen the foster care system, which is certainly important. And we believe that this legislation, we think, will help families who are adopting children through infant adoption. And God bless all of those families out there. And we hope this helps you in some little or large way for your family.
Amen.
All right, next we have the Adoption Uniformity and Statistics Act.
Yes, so of course we support adoption and we want to see adoption grow. We want to see the numbers increase, but in order to do that we have to have some numbers and we have to see kind of where we're at. So this bill was about reporting. It was about really trying to get an understanding of how many adoptions are happening, and we're not necessarily looking at like the intra-family adoptions or some of the foster care adoptions, but we're looking at infant adoption. And so we can really look at these numbers and then increase and use certain promotions and marketing and all the different ways that we can grow infant adoption in the state. Right. And we work with a lot of the adoption professionals in this state. We're so happy to work with all of them, and we're so thankful that we have so many great groups here in Louisiana that facilitate adoption. So what that does is the reporting thing, and then also kind of equalization of attorneys and agencies in post-placement requirements.
Yeah,
so
that gets into the weeds a little bit, but it makes adoption better and cleaner. That's
exactly.
right. Around the state. Okay, the next adoption bill was it was called the Adoption Deception Act. I think the better title is Integrity in Adoption Act. So what we wanted, we didn't introduce the bill, but State Representative Rick Edmonds from Baton Rouge, great pro-life pro-adoption champion. He introduced this legislation to try to weed out bad actors in the adoption. This is kind of maybe the ugly side of it, is that there have been some evidence of people who have tried to scam the adoption system, maybe to then try to get payments from adoptive families from women
from multiple families at the same time,
or maybe the woman's not even pregnant.
Right.
You know, so those
really are the only two ways that this bill, that this law would be enforced.
So
it wouldn't be anything else. Women can always change their mind.
That's right. They can always change their mind. Basically, this
Thanks
bill.
to your advocacy, really, because you went in and clarified.
Well,
that.
I think the bill still wouldn't have done that. But I think we helped clarify that even though it's heartbreaking that mothers still, look, until the adoption's finalized, they need to be able to change their mind. It's their right. It's their decision. And we don't want anything to stand in the way of her doing that. However, we want to be as respectful as we can to that family that's adopting. They go through so much sacrifice, so much heartache that it has been building up to that moment. But this bill at least makes it more stringent penalties so that a woman or anyone really can't be trying to scam the adoption system through, number one, portraying herself as being pregnant, or number two, receiving money from multiple potential adoptive families, potential adoptive couples. So it's about making sure that the adoption is an integrative process. Oftentimes we talk about protecting the birth mother. Well, this is an attempt to protect the adoptive family.
Yes, kind of protecting all the parties involved. That's really important. Right.
So that's some of our adoption bills. So just a few other bills that we worked on. First was the Safe Haven Baby Box Authorization Act. So this sounds a little crazy. Safe Haven Baby Box. What's a baby box? We shouldn't put babies
what's a safe haven?
Might not know that. All right. So in Louisiana and a lot of other states, if a woman within 60 days of a child or after a child is born, she can go to a hospital or a fire station or maybe a police station, and she can actually safely and legally anonymously relinquish her child, and then that child then goes into the custody of the state, and then it's placed for adoption through the Department of Children and Family Services. So that exists right now, the Safe Haven Act, and the goal of that is to prevent anything bad happening.
Children in a dumpster,
or that's right. The story a few years ago. That's right. So the Safe Haven is good. Well, what we've seen, especially in Indiana, is that they've designed these Safe Haven baby boxes that are installed in Louisiana. The law is going to be restricted to installing these in a hospital. You can Google Safe Haven baby boxes. They look a lot better than they sound. It's not a cardboard box on the side of the building. It's like a high-tech box that's climate controlled. Alarms are set off when a baby is placed in the about a minute after the door is closed. An alarm is set off. It allows the mother to relinquish the baby completely anonymously. We've heard of
father.
That's right. So it protects the baby. The baby is in place for adoption, and then the mother is allowed, in a sense, to move on with her life. There's a lot of other details in this bill.
And it is a last resort.
Last resort. That's right.
This is truly. We know that this is not the best case scenario.
Right.
We would love to work with the mother to make an adoption plan, but this is better than the alternative.
That's right.
So that's where
it's a last resort. We prefer that person-to-person relinquishment, but if that isn't possible, we want to give that mother that last chance option. There's 68 boxes installed around the country, and 11 babies to date, not in Louisiana but in other states, have been safely saved and relinquished through.
That's remarkable.
Yeah. So that's that. So that's going to be allowed to be installed in hospitals in this state with 24/7 ERs. So it's the state, no state money that's going to be installing them. It's all up to either the hospital or maybe private charities that want to work with the hospital to install the boxes. So we hope that is used. We don't necessarily want it. We'd rather almost no babies to go in the boxes, in a sense. We'd rather all babies be taken care of, but we hope it's there as an option if a mother feels that she needs that option.
She's that desperate.
Right.
Yeah, exactly. So the next one is very interesting. It was proposed as the forced abortion and sterilization for the disabled protection from forced
Right.
abortion and sterilization. This ended up turning into a resolution because it really needed a little bit more information. We didn't realize just with disability law just how many tentacles it had, but we were made aware of a current law that says something to the effect of if an interdict, someone who has a guardian, right, someone who's not, for many reasons people can be interdicted or partially interdicted, but this law currently says that they cannot have an abortion or sterilization without court authorization. So, interestingly, what that in effect does is that the curator or the guardian of this person can simply go to the court. It's an ex parte hearing, which means that the person who is pregnant or who is, they're trying to get sterilized is not even present in the courtroom. So that's just really unfair. It's really looking at, it's really a eugenic type
Right.
of law. So we wanted to address that. We had a great collaboration with some disability lawyers, and so we're looking to fix that in the next
Yeah,
next
so
year.
it'll be studied over the next year, and then hopefully we'll be able to come back next session and clean that up and protect these often disabled people from being forced to have abortions or to be sterilized.
Right.
Okay, so next is legislation which is two tax-related items. One is a tax exemption of diapers that are being purchased under the sales law. So basically, exempting the purchase of diapers from state sales tax. So basically, when families, pro-life ministries, other people are buying diapers, there will no longer be a state subject to a state sales tax. So we see that this helps some families afford diapers a little bit more, helps pro-life ministries that are giving out diapers to women and families in need. It's just a small offering to help support these people in need.
Right. Walking the talk, supporting women after they've made that choice to parent.
Right.
So great. And then the last one is called the stillbirth tax credit. So just the heartache of experiencing something like a stillbirth is just so awful, and families, especially with stillbirth, it's like they've prepared everything for this new child into their lives, and then suddenly everything changes. So they've spent a lot of money on all of this baby stuff. So hopefully this tax credit would help them, and certainly doesn't touch the pain that they're experiencing, but it could help in some way. And I love it because it continues to bring humanity to children, to born and unborn and brand newborn.
Right.
So we supported that as well.
So those are just a little bit, a number of the bills that we worked on. There were a lot of other bills that weren't our legislation that we kind of added amendments to, or tweaked things, or adjusted things, or had long conversations about legislation. So that's how it happens at the Capitol, is that you get pulled in or involved in anything related, and Louisiana Right to Life is seen as the authority on the pro-life map subjects, issues at the Capitol, and so we're talking to people and making sure that everything is moving in the right direction, right?
That's right.
Yeah, even there was a bill dealing with insurance, and just kind of all kinds of little bills that you wouldn't expect us to be involved in, but we were. So again, we're proud to be your voice and the voice of the pro-life cause at the state capitol, and as long as Louisiana Right to Life's around, we're going to keep being there, being present, and making sure the voice of life is heard. As we move forward, just remember that we need everyone to contact the governor and encourage him to sign House Bill 578, the Abortion Pill Reversal Disclosure Act, into law.
Yes.
That's right.
Well, and thank you so much for all of your help with this session, and continue to stay involved in the pro-life movement.
So remember, you can reach us at prolifelouisiana.org, call our office all over the state. We'd love to be able to help and work with you to continue to defend life. And remember, next year when we come back to the state legislature in March, we'll be right leading up to the possible decision in the Dobbs versus Jackson Women's Health case, which is the case that could, next summer, challenge the foundation of Roe v. Wade. That could totally adjust, and maybe we could even lead up to the end of abortion in Louisiana. So looking forward to that. Thanks, everybody. Have a great weekend.